For me today, as a recap, I think what we bring is a lot of news of what has happened at Nova in the last 12 months. It's been super exciting. The company has literally changed. We bring a lot of updates into the future, like what's going to be Nova like, the new round we are closing, how AI is shaping the company and what's coming around the corner. And last, we had a good discussion on the future of work, some of the latest trends and discussions, a bit more on the philosophical angle on are humans going to be useful or not? What are the key AI skills for the future? So yeah, I bring with me a lot of interesting insights, and hopefully you like the episode.
No, I think with me, I bring this concept of elevating yourself. I think seeing the AI as an enabler, not as an enemy, even for the more junior who are accessing now the job market, seeing that as their tool for, I think, shortcutting and being even more relevant than a junior would be just a few years ago. And I also bring with me the signal of optimism towards a future that I think looks brighter than ever before, as we will see huge advancement across important areas of healthcare, innovation, everything human can and will be willing to do and capable of doing. It's amazing. So yeah, lots of inspiring high-level conversation before we bring them down in the upcoming signals. Well, great to be here, Ramon, this time as co-host of a new concept that I think excites me a lot and excites you even more than myself, because we're here because you pushed hard for a new format. So we welcome our audience to Signal by Nova. It's a format where we will be hosting live conversation as co-hosts, where sometimes we'll invite team members discussing how things are evolving inside the Nova walls. But more importantly, Nova members, industry operators who are at the edge, at the frontier of innovation, because I think we both felt the world is changing so fast with lots of noise. I have feeds of Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn. I don't know even where to look for the latest. So it's great for us to be a bit the curator in the middle of all this, especially with an angle on AI technology and the future of work. So very excited to be here and filter the noise by Signal.
Totally. So exciting to launch this format. As you say, I was particularly excited about the format. Let's see if it works and the audience likes it. But as you said, we live in a world that is changing ever faster. So I think since the beginning of 2026, we are in this kind of singularity moment where the whole world is accelerating with AI. And we felt the need to have this, source of information that curates what's really relevant and filters the noise. And yeah, let's see that if that through our own curation, our perspective, being a little bit in between companies looking for talent, the best talent of the world, we can do a good job at curating. And also, as you said, through members coming to the show and, giving their perspective, we can help people navigate the fast-changing world a bit better. But maybe before we start with that, Andre, we could start maybe by telling what's happened. No, I think the focus of this episode can be also around that, no? Because a lot has happened at Nova since we last recorded together, which was exactly a year ago.
Yeah, no, indeed. Time flew by. And I think many things have happened for us personally, first and foremost, as I became first-time father and you expanded your family with one more member. For you is the second, which I think maybe even projected us into thinking about the future, at least for me, in new ways, really questioning whether my daughter will be studying at university at all or what the future will look like. But more on the professional matters, I think these past 12 months have been, I don't know if the most excited, because all years at Nova I've had turning points. But I think this felt like a year where we changed DNA. I think we evolved, as we often refer to, maybe becoming an AI first company, not only in the way we approach work in the day-to-day, but very much so by launching to market a strong AI SaaS product, which transition us from a service-heavy company, hard to scale, even though the vision is still the same, making the world more meritocratic. But now I'm very excited to see that we can do that at a scale that wasn't possible before. So we'll dive deeper into a bit of this transition. And I think both B2B and B2C, our two core businesses, look very different compared to just 12 months. So excited
Totally.
to share a bit of the journey.
Totally. No, super exciting. Maybe I can take the lead and explain briefly what has happened on the B2B, no? Where, as you said, no, things have changed dramatically. So, as a context for those that might join today for the first time and didn't listen into our previous podcast, since we started the company, no, with this vision to connect the brightest people on earth, we financed that business and the creation of the network with a service business on the B2B. So we were basically good headhunters, and we were doing employer branding services as well for corporations and cool professional service firms like the McKinsey, Bain, BCG of the world. And we became kind of good recruiters in the process. And we understood the pain of how hard it is to source top talent in today's world, right? So basically, what happened with the round is that we realized that, the recruiters and ourselves as headhunters were lacking the tools. And the pitch to the investors, and one of the goals of the round was, can we create a better tool for recruiters and headhunters out there to help them source top talent? As you know, when you recruit candidates, there's kind of two ways. You can either post a job and wait for talent to apply and just filter that talent, or you can go kind of chase them, selling to them that they should come work with you. For top talent, what we learned as headhunters is that it's the second that works, but the only tool out there was LinkedIn, right? And if anybody has used LinkedIn for recruiting, they know that the tool hasn't evolved in the last 10, 15 years, or barely so. Now with a thin layer of AI, but really nothing too game changing. So basically, the tool we have built and that the beta came to life in December is a tool that enables recruiters and headhunters to search for talent. They search in a database of more than 800 million profiles that have a public profile somewhere on the internet, and we're giving them the tools to filter them better on a merit base, not only on keywords. We're giving them the tools to then connect with them and engage with them with better reply rates. So typically, LinkedIn will just enable you to send emails, while enabling multi-channel sequences that have 2 to 3 times better replies. We're creating a suite of agents, of AI agents, that basically automates entire end-to-end workflow. So now, as we'll be actually launching very soon, the kind of the official launch, it's very exciting to see that the product is there. The traction is huge, and as you know, the market is becoming also very hot, with competitors raising really big rounds in the US, which for us is a great validation that we are building on at the right time on the right space.
Yeah, and I think it's the product story. I think reflects also our people story when it comes to Nova, because this transition was accelerated tremendously by two key hire, actually one hire and one rehire, because Jesus, our head of AI, which spearheaded the entire data infrastructure, was really chased by Christian, by you, by us. We knew we needed that person, and we needed to really convince him.
Yeah, the
Rather
process is
than
basically, who is the best AI engineer at Nova? Let's go convince him to join.
exactly, we hired him from the community, so that was our core advantage. But I think it's an era where having the right talent has an impact that is way higher in terms of leverage compared to maybe a few years ago. So I think we need a tool for those game changer talent to be identified faster, so you can arrive to them before others do. And I think no recruiter can be that shortcut between recruiters and the best talent out there. Because one thing you mentioned that I'm really proud of is that we embedded our vision of a merit-based world into that, by ranking results from a talent score perspective, which is something we honed and iterated over the past 5 years, reviewing 150,000 more CVs. So having that data intelligence applied to a large pool of public profile is where I think we created an edge against even those US competitors you mentioned, with many more bucks in their banks. But yeah, excited for what's ahead on the Nova Recruiter.
Totally. And Yeah, as you know, Williams and Jesus, they were instrumental. No, Williams was rehired after kind of a gap year outside of Nova. I think with the Nova recruiter, with the whole AI, he got again interested, no, and excited about the product to build at Nova. And it has also meant a big change in our B2B organization, because we now have, let's say, a SaaS sales team with SDRs and account executives, and much more of the classical software kind of type of sales with discoveries, demos, proposals, etc. And it's also being very cool to see how we are transitioning our headhunters into customer success people, and that's something that clients are actually valuing a lot. That we always pitch the tool as for recruiters by recruiters, right? And the best proof of that is that our customer success people are not just random people who know about the tool, but they're headhunters actually part time still. So we still have our headhunting business, and they are the main users of the tool. So nobody better than them to help our clients navigate how to have the better outcome of
Indeed,
the Nova recruiter.
indeed, indeed.
Cool. So that's on the B2B. So very, very exciting now, as people will see now in April with a full launch. It's going to be very, very cool. We have together seen
Forward.
yesterday some of the features coming, and they are very, very exciting. But tell us a little bit what has happened on the community, because that's always at the core. And actually, that's what's going to defend us and make us better, hopefully, than the Juicebox, the Paraforms, and other platforms out there trying to do AI recruiting.
Yeah, no, indeed. Yeah, I think going back to our core, I think we both know where everything started from this vision of connecting the world's best in a very trusted environment. And I think that still to this day, it's what drives many of our employees, having that impact in people's lives. And I think on the B2C, we have seen two major transformation. I think one, it's from a conceptual point of view. I think we sharpen our vision. Today, I think everybody in the company agrees that ultimate success metric of being a member of Nova is the number and value of connections you have built thanks to us, thanks to curated introduction by algorithms, thanks to attending curated events, and so on. And I think that has helped us very much so, because before we were talking about features, now we know that the ultimate North Star metric is how many great people you've met thanks to us. And that translates into a new way of approaching connection at scale. I think we took inspiration from Bordy, the sort of AI connector that many of our audience maybe have talked to via their WhatsApp or LinkedIn, who's basically an agent who listen to your needs and try to create a connection via LinkedIn introductions or public profiles. We're taking that a step further because we leverage the trust of a gated network that is based on merit. And we are able to really grasp our members' needs and turn them into valuable connection, regardless of how busy you are as a professional, regardless of how much time you can spend actively going to events, even though events, I think, are the most meaningful way of building in-person connection at Nova. But there might be phases in life where you're either too busy at work or too busy in your family life. So we don't want that person to disappear from Nova's radar. So I think seeing that tech AI movement also arriving to the connection making experience is something I'm very looking forward to. It's a few months away. And I think the second more strategic change, it's really about the verticalization of conversations. We've had that feedback very often of members connecting, let's say, on an horizontal level. We are both great driven individuals working in different sectors. We can contaminate ideas, but there are times where you want to spend time with maybe a peer that understands you better than others, just because he or she is facing the same challenges, the same struggles. So the verticalization strategy is something that I think will pay off into building this T-shaped community where horizontally we create connection when you want to get out of your bubble, but you can go deeper into very important conversation around your day-to-day. And I think it was just last week that we announced the vertical groups internationally. So now I'm starting to see marketing experts connecting across borders, discussing the latest on tools they use, on how to get that KPI moved forward, and so on. So yeah, excited to see tech and verticalization as the main driver of the next 6-12 months.
Totally. And as you said, this comes really back to the very origins, no? Because I think when we got started, we felt there was kind of this gap in between LinkedIn, headhunters, and other communities, where LinkedIn at the beginning was a great place to meet people and kind of do networking, but it's not anymore the case. Like, probably nobody in the audience has recently met someone relevant in their career or their life through LinkedIn. You typically get to meet those other people in other smaller communities, events, other places, and then you get to, let's say, maintain the connection through LinkedIn. Um, and these other communities are not designed or don't have the scale and the technology to make those connections, let's say, intentionally, right? So I think we are, like, by coming back to the origin of, okay, it's actually the connection that makes sense at Nova. It's like, I'm not measuring you or you, the success that I'm having with you in the number of hours you spend in my app. But if you made 3 great connections this year, maybe one Gravity, one mentor, and then you went to an event and found an inspiring person that maybe you are now going to launch a company with, that's success to us, right? So I think this redefinition of what's at the core of Nova and what's the value prop, to me, is very, it's something both very, it gives me a lot of calm that we are on the right way, but also gives me a lot of energy to say, okay, now we have to make it real on the product side, and yeah, move out from, let's say, this feature building, as you were saying, to this more core North Star.
Yeah,
So super excited about that.
It's crazy. No, and we built the first connection dashboard on Metabase, and seeing that we have thousands of connections made every month.
4,000 to 5,000, no? In the last few
Yeah,
months, 4,000 to 5,000 every month. That's
every month.
a good number already.
And
we have to
and
make
that's
4 to 5 million, but
exactly, and that's how we start to see co-founders finding each other. I don't even realize how many lives have been changed one connection at a time. So yeah, excited to see how we can scale that without losing the core essence of Nova, which is all about curation and trust. So yeah, let's see how that evolves.
In this year as well, before we move on, we've also purchased our first company. We won't do a big spoiler on that, but some M&A news on the communities and the verticalization coming very soon, actually. So I'll leave it hanging there. But let's now move on to what's next, no? Because we also have not only the news of the M&A that will come soon, but there's already other news that we can share with the audience.
Indeed. Yeah, I think the most exciting one is the round extension. So we were a year ago announcing the 3.2 million. Today we're extending that round by 1.5 million extra. And that is a great sign and evidence, because that money will primarily go towards go-to-market acceleration and trying to add a few data engineers to the team, because that's clearly our biggest bottleneck as of now. So honing the product even further after the traction that has shown in just 8 weeks from launch, where we crossed an important mark of 200K ARR. Seeing that done with a small, recently started team of account executives has given us the confidence to know that we need to double down. And therefore in the next couple of weeks, the round will be already closed, as we already have the approval and support from existing investors, and we let some of our members invest alongside. So it's great to see that we need that extra boost, mostly because the market craves for a solution like the ones we are pushing to the market, both B2B and B2C, I would say. The B2C, because communities will become even more relevant as people find new meaning and place where they can belong. But as you pointed earlier, the B2B recruiting solution is something that the markets needs. We're also seeing incredible valuations, companies in the same space raising incredible amount of money at huge valuation. That shows the appetite. I think Juicebox just a few weeks ago announced their 85 million, around 850 million valuation, with Sequoia backing them. So there is really strong momentum, and we cannot be too humble in the amount of money we raise, but also how fast we go after this opportunity, because we have a head start and we need to chase it.
Totally. And the reality is that, of course, ideally, we would have raised a Series A and bring 10, 20 million, no, to compete head to head with these guys. But the reality is that let's say the barrier, no, on today's Series A is a bit higher. So it's no longer the 1 million ARR, it's more 2, 3. So that's, I guess, the plan, no, to get those quickly, no, hopefully by the summer or right after. So we can then raise probably a bigger round and then go compete with Paraform that has just raised 65 million with Juicebox, as you said. On the B2C side, there's Body. I don't know how much are they raising, but the valuation I read in the I don't know where, but it was something like 270 million valuation on an ACA round with also kind of B2C angels, which seemed like a big number. So yeah, I think that's the league where we want to play, and let's see if we are. Now it's, I guess, a matter of execution on our side to be able to do that.
Yeah, no, and there are many news and ways we will make sure the Nova Recruiter gets into the hand of many. I'm very excited because by the end of April, we'll enable Nova Recruiter to be purchased on our website, which will be a new step towards a new market, more marketing led, as opposed and complementary to the more enterprise sales that has already started with great results. And also, as you have pointed out in the beginning, headhunters are loving it, and we do not exclude that by end of year there might be a partner approach where selected agencies around Europe might become not only users of the Nova Recruiter, but also partners in the long term by reselling these to their customers or contributing to the development of the product. So yeah,
totally
excited.
And on the B2C, basically, just to summarize the plan for those members listening in, like what should they expect? So a little bit what you mentioned before, no? So doubling down on connections. Right now, connections have been spread around the platform in different features. We're trying to merge all of that into a single, better, more fluid experience that would also appeal to those that maybe have a bit less time. Because Gravity, which has been, I think, our flagship feature, is not for everybody. Like you do need to have a bit of time every week to go meeting people. So going a bit more the Body way, where I'm going to present you with the right people, maybe fewer times a year. I think that's what's going to happen. And then again, on the once the connection is revamped, also from the tech side with better data, better AI, better algorithms. By the way, because for those who don't know, the Gravity algorithm is still so far the one I designed like 6 years ago, but our head of AI, Jesus, will do, of course, much better than me. And then doubling down on the conversations, a bit more vertical, more events, giving the power to our city and vertical leaders to push the community where it should be. We don't do the events anymore and don't do the content anymore ourselves, but it's through the vertical and city leaders. And hopefully that would help us scale, right? And now it's, I think, like 28, 29 cities around the world where we have a city leader. Hopefully in a year from now, we'll have 2x that.
Yeah, I think we haven't stressed enough. I think you touched upon one key element of the city leaders. I think has been one of the most successful rollouts at Nova, thanks to the great work of the team and Leire particularly. But I was looking at how many events we host in a quarter right now, and it's almost the same number of events we hosted in 2024. So we have
a couple of hundred maybe, or what's that?
Yeah, in 2024 it was all year was about 110 events. In one quarter now we are close to 80 events, depending on the quarter, of course. And I think that is also tapping into now members can run their own events. They can publish a dinner at their own place to discuss about the impact of AI in a certain industry. We're seeing those spontaneous conversation, and I think it's the ultimate success for a community when members start to self-organize it and you didn't even know that people are meeting. So I'm very excited to see that happening.
Actually, we didn't mention, but one thing that happened in the last 12 months is that we launched the Nova Angel Club, which is a member-run initiative where Andrea is running the show. Basically, Andrea is one of our members, and he saw a little bit like us. We have always seen, but we never had the time to that. The Nova ecosystem has a lot of potential to create and invest in early stage startups. And basically now we are seeing deal flow every week if you are part of the club, where there's a lot of startups pitching, a lot of investment opportunities, and we are being able to back some of them with some cash and some expertise from the network. And it's super exciting to be seeing also that type of initiatives being launched and run by members with
Yeah.
us just as the kind of in the in the support, giving them visibility, giving them tools, but having them running the show.
No, it's crazy. No, and we'll see more of that for sure. Great example. But yeah, as we move towards the closing of this episode, I think it's good to open up a bit of a recurring topic in the Signal conversations, differently from today, where we introduce a bit the format and the past 12 months. We'll be diving a lot into the news, what's changing every week, how is the world shaping up thanks to new developments. And I think the latest on our end and what we wrote even in Talent First, it's really about how AI is changing the outlook on the future of work. And I think one of the recent LinkedIn posts I did was on the Anthropic research that they conduct, I think, every quarter, where they basically cross-reference API usage. They try to understand in which type of task their models are the most used. They really plotted an amazing graph where you can clearly see the theoretical AI capability versus the actual adoption. And we can see that there are plenty of areas with, of course, computer science, math, getting almost to 100% of theoretical automation. But when you look at the actual adoption, we're still very far from it. And I think that opens the light on the organizational resistance, the societal resistance. So I think the debate has always been what AI can do, but now I think it's clear that the conversation should shift towards to what speed humans can adapt, society can adapt, organization can adapt, because AI seems will not be the major bottleneck, at least on very specialized white collars.
Intelligence is not the bottleneck. So already AI is better than humans at a wide variety of tasks. Of course, still sometimes needs supervision and so on, but I think the developments of the last 3 months with the latest models, particularly on Anthropic with Opus 4.5, 4.6, and the Codex models of ChatGPT of OpenAI, clearly show that that's the case. Like, we're going to live in an abundance of intelligence. And here, I guess the big question, if we relate to future of work, is okay. Then humans, what's going to be of us? Like, are we going to be replaced or not? I think it was a month ago or so, Citrini Research published this kind of memo where they were basically picturing, a future in which the economy was crashing. Basically, the sequence of events is something like AI starts to automate a lot of the white collar, as we're seeing happening. Companies do massive layoffs of those white collars to save money and make their returns and their margins better. And instead of investing in replacing those with people, they replace with more investments on AI. And then basically those people that find themselves, without a job are unable to find new jobs. Therefore, housing prices go down, consumption of retail also declines. And then there's a whole downside spiral. Which is kind of very worrying. I remember reading it myself, and I was, the memo is so well written and it's so
convincing.
It's convincing, and it's so rational in the way of the sequence of events. It's very, very clear. It's well done. It's clearly done by experts. And actually, that same day, when the new piece of news appears in the Wall Street Journal, the stock exchange went down for a bit. Like, it was actually a few hours where people were taking these memos seriously, and it was the front page of the Wall Street Journal. But then, people started to counter argue against it and see the defaults in the thought process. And then you and I, we published an article on Talent First, where basically we kind of the main challenge that I would do to this way of thinking is that this kind of thinking has always existed actually since the Industrial Revolution with Karl Marx, and is that there's no change of demand, right? Like we assume that supply suddenly becomes cheaper. You don't need humans to generate the same supply. I think that's already happening. We're seeing that by the minute.
Yeah.
But probably what's wrong about Citrini is that they assume there's no new demands, right? And my experience is that human beings, we never have our needs satisfied. Like our demand for new services and value and goods is just unlimited, and we can see that every day. Like there's a lot of businesses out there that didn't exist 10 years ago, and a lot of trends from taking better care of oneself, more experiences, more relationships, more people going to see therapists and psychologists. So there's a whole new set of demands that, in my opinion, will emerge.
Mm-hmm.
It's clear that the future of work will be very different. Like jobs like the one I used to have at BCG won't exist or won't exist in the same way. Like people doing analysis on a spreadsheet, that doesn't make sense any longer. So the question is, to me, it's not a question if there will be new jobs. I'm pretty sure there will be a lot of new jobs because there will be new demands. The problem to me is at what speed is this change happening, and how fast is society, able to change, right? Because as people, get fired, and they will get fired and they will get replaced by AI, we need to see how the new demand grows, how the new jobs are growing. Society will need to take care of people that maybe are not able to, reshuffle their own experiences and adapt to the new labor market. And it's going to be we're going to suffer, definitely. That has happened and will happen definitely in this era.
Yeah, no, I think the transition will be painful, but I'm optimistic when it comes to sort of the human condition. I think as overall, if you look at happiness index or health or lifetime quality expectancy and all of that, as humans, I think we will better off. Maybe work will become an option that we choose to pursue or not. Maybe a universal basic income will become needed. I know Elon Musk is also in favor of that. Maybe part of the surplus of companies will be needed to redistribute to society in some ways. So I'm not that negative. And as you say, if consumers don't have the money to buy all that efficiency gains on company production lines, won't find the market. So I think the entire architecture of society will need to be redesigned. But I think from a perspective of not needing the human in all tasks, a new will emerge. And my thesis is that what makes us human will become even more relevant. So maybe sales jobs will become more demanded. Healthcare, empathy, even community work. I don't know if we'll go ever back to a Greek society where we meet and discuss philosophy and we argue about things, art and music. But yeah, I think overall we shouldn't be scared, even though we are hesitant to change as humans, but we will adapt, and I think society will be a better place after all. So we'll see.
Totally. One key aspect that gives me hope, even in the short term, as what's going to happen in the coming months, is that there's also a graph by Citadel, kind of counter arguing against Citrini, where they show that actually jobs for software engineers are on the rise. More recently, also the newsletter from Lenny, the famous product newsletter, proved the same, that the tech jobs were on the rise across roles, even for recruiters, actually, which is interesting. And basically, the rationale behind, so it doesn't seem rational. Like, okay, so we are automating the software job. Like, we don't need software engineers any longer to produce code. It's agents that code, and therefore engineers can be 2, 3, 10 times more productive. But what's happening, and that has happened also economically speaking in other markets, is that suddenly the prices of production of something drops significantly, as it has happened with software, the demand for it grows even bigger. So the demand for software is also, potentially unlimited. There's so many more problems we could solve with software. In many cases, we weren't solving them with software because the reality is that it was expensive to build that software. But today, there's a lot of ROI in many kinds of
Mhm.
products, of tech products that was not there. So the reality is that companies, instead of hiring fewer engineers to just build the same software, they're shipping, and we are seeing that at Nova, shipping way more software and we have probably even bigger teams to produce that,
For sure.
which to me is very, very interesting.
For sure.
Also, reflecting on careers, there's a topic that is going to be, I think, probably discussed in this show more in the future. Is that okay? If this, how do I manage my career, and what are the key skills for a world that changes so rapidly? I think that, to me, the insight that I have from speaking with HR directors and talent acquisition managers and being in the space myself is that there's a new skill that is appearing, that is, are you good or not good with AI? And I've seen there's been
Mhm.
a few threads on Twitter on this, with many famous people kind of talking about this concept specifically, because some people seem to have, be a bit more at ease. It's probably related somehow with curiosity, with your ability to learn a new skill. But
Mhm.
that's probably the skill of today. Like, are you able to automate work and do more stuff with AI or not? And today, I think that's what more and more companies are going to be demanding, right? So if you're
Yeah.
not using a lot of AI in your day to day, you're not automating your own job, do it, because that's what's
Yeah.
going to happen.
No, I agree. This AI literacy will shape the future of work, and maybe to defend some of the more corporate employees. I've lots of friends who are maybe in big corps, and they are still limited in the way they can explore for a number of restraints, being that data ownership, being that just resistance to adoption. So I think there is a big opportunity for anyone to leverage themselves even more, because there will be a portion of the workforce who will be working in places where AI will stay dormant. So there is a skills redistribution opportunity where the ones who act faster, who are more curious, who are in their free time experiment, uh, will see their return on their hours, and maybe their salary increase exponentially. If you look at the salary increase, as you said, on software engineers, there are more and more top companies looking for the best, and the salaries we have seen is 500,000 and even more. I mean, not to go to Meta and the acquisition of key AI hires above the millions figures. So yeah, I think it's gonna be a skill more valued than ever before. So yeah, it's a
Totally.
good invite.
Where it seems there's going to be a bit more pressure is on the entry levels. But again, at the same time, I do believe that if you are in that entry level and you're worrying about your first job, I think it's also a time of opportunity, because the reality is that more senior people are going to have to relearn a lot of things. They do have a lot of context on their industry, the problems, but they don't know how to work in these new era. So I do believe that smart driven young people can actually already outperform more senior people, precisely thanks to AI, and we're seeing that in batches of YC recently, with very young entrepreneurs building massive companies. So, if you're young, instead of being kind of having this
Afraid.
fear for the future or being afraid, I'll suggest that you're actually daring. Just take AI, start to build your own stuff, do your side projects, code with AI, learn about distribution, about marketing, about sales. And I do believe, there's going to be a lot of opportunities for those youngsters that embrace this change, and are ready for the new world. So,
Yeah, and I think Anthropic just released a certification for people to learn free how to best navigate agent era, and there will be plenty of free. I mean, learning is cheaper than ever before, so it's a matter of
totally.
trying.
Yeah, it's a matter of elevating. I think every role with AI, what happened is that we all need to elevate ourselves. Like, things we used to do and spend a lot of our time are now handled by the AI. So we need to see what's next. And for you and I, it means being here, for instance, building more content, being closer on distribution, because our emails are taken care partially, at least, by by Claude. For engineers, this means doesn't not coding any longer, but rather managing agents that code. For senior engineers, this means getting closer to product and understanding what problems to solve. No, not only managing tasks and managing younger engineers. So I think we all need to simply elevate ourselves and go to a higher level of abstraction. And with what it carries, no more uncertainty, more complexity, having to think deeper and tougher. But it's also so much more fun, to be able to elevate yourself.
Indeed, indeed. I think we can maybe end on this positive message and note. I don't know. There are many other news and highlights. I think we'll be covering in the next Signal show. I don't know if there is any final remark, but from my end, thank everybody for listening. If you got up until this point, and I look forward to navigating together the world that is changing faster than ever before, and hopefully learning also from the audience. Send us signals if you want us to dive deeper, and looking forward to meet many members and experts in this show in the upcoming releases.
Thank you everyone for watching, and see you next week.